Hello and welcome to this video where we're going to discuss performance testing, or better said, different kinds of performance testing, because the term performance testing usually is misunderstood, or mm, people don't really get what it is or confuse it with something else, in the sense that there are more types of performance testing. There are different things that you need to do in order to have a really correct performance test. It's not just about running a script. It's about finding different patterns or creating different um, risk profiles for traffic so that you can test the system or how the system behaves exposed, let's say, to different testing types. And what do I mean by testing types? Well, the best overview I can give to you is via this graph. So we have on the upper right side, upper left side, I wasn't in the army, we have smoke. So smoke test, when do you do smoke test? Well, you do smoke test when we want to see that the relevant system or application code changes and that didn't have an impact on the base functionality, the base metrics. And smoke is usually done with a low number of users and is short, yeah, up to, let's say, a couple of minutes. Load testing is often done to check that the system maintains performance with an average use. So like it's written here, an average number of users, and it can vary between 5 minutes to, let's say, an hour. On the other hand, stress, we all have it, but stress testing is checking how the system behaves on above average load. And it's usually, let's say, for the same amount of time as load testing. Soak. Soak is usually done in order to see how the system behaves under prolonged continuous use. So you have an average number of users, but you have those users for a longer period of hours. Spike. Spike, let's say you can associate spike with Christmas shopping, Black Friday shopping, to times when you have a lot of users in a very short time. And last but definitely not least, breakpoint. This tests what are the limits. You test the system as long as long as necessary until the system breaks, so that you know, okay, if we have this amount of users for this amount of time, then our system will crash. Now, enough about talking. Let's see in action how this can be done in case 6. So we saw in a previous video or what we can do, what are the options for a specific case 6 script. Now let's remove this, or we can actually leave it right here, because I created a separate folder which will handle all the types of tests. So let's start with smoke test. So for smoke test, as we said, um, we want to have just a quick test that everything works. Then a way to do this how you can simulate this in case 6 is we don't need really stages. And again, if you do not know what stages are, check the previous video in this list where I explain that. So we want a small number of virtual users, VUS, and let's say a duration of, I don't know, 1 minute. If I can type correctly, yes, now I can. Now we can go ahead and save this, and we can open the terminal, make it a little bit bigger to K6, run. Then we have here the types, and in the types we want, smoke. And this will run free users for 1 minute. Now this was smoke. Now let's go ahead and see what would be the setup for load. Now for load testing, it's actually similar to what we have here with a couple of differences. I mean, here we have 5 10, 15 minutes. We can make it a little bit bigger, and we can also increase a little bit the amount of users. But this would be how you do load. You have different stages. You have different stages, which means you simulate number of users for a specific period of time, and we can change these seconds to minutes, and that would be a really okay scenario for load testing. Now I'm not going to let this run because this will run for about half an hour and we don't have that much time in this video, but you can do it yourself. You just do the command K6 run and then you select the script that you want to run. Now after load comes stress testing. So we would need a similar configuration for stress testing, um, but a little bit differently structured. So let's say we have, I mean, the idea would be to simulate stress on the system. So growing to a specific number in a specific period. So let's do 10 minutes here, and the target would be to have something like 200 users. Now we keep those 200 users for about 30 minutes or so. So again, 200, and then we go down. We go down to 0 or 1, and we go down in, let's say, 5 minutes. This would be an example of a scenario which you could qualify as stress testing. After stress, we will do soak. And for soak, we remain at the stages and we again play around with this based on the description that you saw earlier in the video. If you do not remember, go back to the video and then come back here. So we would do again in the soak part, a ramp up in 5 minutes, you get to 100 users. And here you would do a couple of hours, let's say 10 hours. You would keep the system at 100 users and um, then again decrease it to a lower number, even 0. Now that we have seen soak, let's go to spike. So in spike, it's a little bit different. We again have our stages, perfect, but they're completely the opposite. So in the sense that you get a really good deal for a couple of minutes. So that means in like say 2 minutes you have 5,000 users on your system, and then in 1 minute they're gone again to 0 or 1. And this simulates, like I said, Christmas shopping, Black Friday shopping, times in the system where you have a lot of users for a short period of time. And now that we've seen spike, let's go to breakpoint. So breakpoint, you could do just this right here. So have a lot of users ramping up, which would definitely cause at a specific period of time the system to break. However, it is recommended to use an executor, but we will have a look in a future video what this is. And this assures that the load of the system increases slowly, regardless of the system's response. So there you have it. These were different types of load testing and how you can configure your KZip script to match that. As always, do not forget to rest, then test, and have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.